Hey, hey, hey. Welcome, everybody. We are here at GED Breaking Barriers, and we're going to just do another great episode. You guys, I'm excited. This show where we're talking about real people with real stories, with real journeys, and we are
Mhm.
excited to have my guest with me today. Jamo. And no,
Yes,
that is
ma'am.
not an expression. That is who he is. He is
Yes.
major, and I'm excited to have you. So, you guys, I'm
Mhm.
Chandra Kidd, the adult ed guru of Smart Kid Concepts, and I'm here just bringing you guys, motivating you all, and I'm so excited to have you on the show. So, Jamo, you are literally
Yes.
always
Yes.
smiling.
Yes. Yes.
Jamo, you got
Yes.
to start me off. If you could describe yourself in 3 words, what would those 3 words be? Go.
Energetic, thoughtful, and just a joy when you see me. Joy. Joy when you see me.
You're just as
Mhm.
bubbly and cool as I remember years
Yes,
ago.
ma'am. Indeed.
I always like to take it back. So tell me,
Okay.
Jama, why, when you were younger, why didn't finishing high school work for you at that time? Tell us what was going on in your life back then, or why you had to pursue your GED.
Well, story time. So,
Mhm.
with my story of school, a little bit different. Where
Okay.
for me, I actually attended school in the islands in the island of in Jamaica, and while transferring from Jamaica to here, my transcript from here to there didn't much like pan out pretty much. And I actually wanted to attend Broward College. That was literally down the street. And then upon there, they told me that the only way how I'll be able to get into the program is if I'll be able to go to get my GED and stuff like that. And I did pursue that. And then upon completing that, and I'm here today, and I'm still smiling, and it's a little bit different, but I'm here today still, and I'm something that I don't regret doing, and I think everyone should. If they don't have the opportunity to, there's always opportunity. Just be a willingness to try, and there is a support system. A lot of children go to school and they don't have a level of support that is needed for them to go to school. But there is an opportunity with loving teachers, not just teachers, but also parents, a role model like yourself, Ms Kydd. You're able to inspire us as young adults, young men, even older adults too, people who are more of age and those who are wanting to take that next step in their education may have a little bit of step back in life. Things happen, but they're able to use this as a springboard to propel themselves forward. So my experience is a little bit different, but everyone's story is different, experience is different, but we're all here to achieve greatness.
Right. So
Uh-huh.
with that, you mentioned coming from Jamaica, coming from
Yes,
another
ma'am.
country, somewhere else.
Hmm.
Talk to me, Jama. Let's go back to that moment. What
Uh-huh.
was that transition like? You're in a new place, new culture. You're
Hmm.
trying to figure out life.
Hmm.
Then you realize this diploma piece, right? They now say in
Uh-huh.
order for you to move forward, you kind of
Hmm.
need to step back and go get that credential. So what was
Indeed.
going on through
Indeed.
your mind as your transition from a whole new country? What was that like for you?
Well, to be quite honest with you, first of all, was the lesson plan, the way how things are taught, the way how things are like explained is different. First of all, me coming from a Jamaican background, a Jamaican household, education is something that is very like precious, and it's something that as Jamaicans we pride ourselves, we strive for greatness, and it's something that most of us don't always have an opportunity to receive, but most of us do our best to. And with being able to learn from a different teacher, from a different way of teaching, is different versus where some schools, some teachers may just go off of, okay, this is the lesson plan, this would need to be done, they need to be execute this, need to do that. It's more like there's no time put into the student. It was more about time putting into the preparation of the lesson and to teach it. But that one-on-one, I find that was something that was different for me, that I was able to receive from my teachers. Just also to add to, I never attended school here in the United States. I never went to high school here. So the curriculum here, I'm not so much familiar with, but all the schooling I've had here and me being able to attend schools like this, it was also a different experience and a different environment. It was more welcoming. School didn't feel like a burden. School didn't feel like a man, I gotta go in today and I gotta deal with this teacher and oh these kids over here, or you know what happens in school system. You have bullies, you have the ones who are more privileged, less privileged. People will
Right.
crack on you because of your shoes. People crack on you because you dress a certain way, or even too because you may have an accent when you speak. But that wasn't so. It was more like everyone is there to achieve, and that environment helped. And I think a lot of times too, there isn't so much environment in school systems, but not so much environment, but more like that get you to set into learning and be willing, and that drive. Because outside of yourself, you need to be able to have that support system, and it's important. It's important. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, go back to how we connected when we crossed paths,
Uh-huh.
and you went for your GED. Explain
Mm-hmm.
what was your experience like when you met Ms Kydd?
Miss K, you're gonna let me cry. It's too early for this. We just started. No, because Miss K, to be honest with you, when it came on to school, it's something that I genuinely did like struggle with. Not feeling as if like you can do it, but to be able to know that there's someone that supports you, someone that can be like, no, I see you can do it. Like just those little words of encouragement, it goes a long way. And not only me, I know many, many students can attest to this. I'm not speaking because I'm on a live stream or I'm trying to sound good. I'm speaking from the heart where it means something, Miss Kid. The impact that you have on us as children, as young men, as adults is very impactful because you don't only just teach the individual, you're teaching a generation.
Wow.
And in the way how I don't know if you're not just a teacher, you're more like words that I can't find a word, but
Like a mentor, a guide, I don't know, counselor, I don't know.
I guess it's just one word that I can put it on. We got to make a new word for that one, okay? We got to pick a letter from all of those and make it into one. But my experience with you as a teacher, where you were more patient, but the main thing that you did was that you took time out to understand how every student like learned.
Okay.
That's the difference. Where you teach a class something, but okay, this person got it, this person don't get it. But okay, if it's 50% of the class that gets it, okay, this other 50% doesn't. Okay, now you're gonna like okay, you would tend to like, hey, come to me, talk to me, and you make it more welcoming to come to. You make it more easier to not feel ashamed or to feel like, man, I don't want to go to Miss Kid because I don't know. That little anxiety. Everyone's personality is different. Me, I'm really, hey, Miss Kid. Hey, I need you to talk to me. I need you to help me. I'm more forthcoming. But for those
Right.
who aren't like that, you made it more easier for them to do so. So
Right, right.
when it was a struggle, Miss Kid, just thank you. That's I can't even go more and more and more in depth, but you took teaching to another level. That's what it is.
Wow.
You're not just a teacher.
Yeah.
You took it to another level where like I know for a fact you get a joy out of knowing that this student is someone who came into my class that struggled, but to see them not do that anymore, but not struggle, have challenges, but to improve. You see the improvement. You see how their reading style has improved, their reading speed has improved. Um, being able to see the growth in them. It's like a mother seeing their child take their first step. I can't speak from experience as a mother, but I know that most mothers can say, "Wow, they did it." So my experience, Miss Kid, I got stories. I got stories and blessings too, and blessings
Yeah.
too. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely honored to hear you say that, and
Yes, ma'am.
really big believer, what you're saying is what I try to exude, but also I try to communicate even with my colleagues, because I realize that, as teachers sometimes we sometimes fall into a time where we feel like we get beat down because we're wearing so many hats. We're
Yes,
more than y'all teachers.
yes,
We're
yes,
your
yes.
security guards, we're your counselors, we're your mentors, we're your everything, we're your graders, your
Mm-hmm.
everything. So it
Mm-hmm.
does get to be overwhelming. But one of the things that I always encourage, my colleagues to remember, no matter how many years you've been in the game, no matter how much maybe the system itself has beat you down as an educator, we got to
Indeed.
remember, you guys are people, y'all human, and we got to continue to love on you all and show y'all love. And when we have that connection and that relationship with you all, not only do we show up for you all, but you all
Mm-hmm.
show up for us in return. You,
Yes,
because of
ma'am.
that relationship with the teacher, you all stay longer, and especially with adults, you guys can easily walk away. You don't have to be there. So if we
Right.
don't create that
Right.
atmosphere of hospitality, of love, of saying, hey, I see you and you matter, not just
Mm-hmm.
you all as a group, but you as an individual,
Yes,
it
ma'am.
really means something, because we don't know where y'all coming from until we know where y'all coming from, you see?
Indeed,
But we
indeed,
got to take the
indeed.
time to know where you're coming from so
Yes,
we can
ma'am.
guide you, forward. So with
Mm-hmm.
Jamo, be honest, what did I do or say that made you feel that this time was different, that this teacher was different, this class experience? Because you mentioned, the atmosphere was different, life in Jamaica, curriculum, all that was different. So what made you feel like I would be different in your life as your educator, mentor, teacher, whatever word you want to call it?
Okay, you mentioned two things.
Hmm.
The thing that you did or the thing that you said. I'm gonna give you two examples of that.
Okay.
Not examples, but reality of what had happened. You remember that one time you sat down with me and actually wrote a resume with me? I never wrote a resume a day of my life. I didn't even know what a resume really was. And I remember you actually sat down and taught the class like how to do one. We did do one, but I struggled with creating one. And you actually took the time out after school and said, okay, Jamo, we're gonna do this together. And I remember I draw a chair next to your desk. And I remember like yesterday, I sat down and said, okay, this is how you do this. I remember you showed me on the computer. This is how you did this. And I'm like, wow, like I still have it to this day, as a matter of fact. I still have it.
Hmm.
And these are the things that I said. That's one thing that you did that let me know that okay, yes, this isn't just a teacher. She wants me to go beyond the classroom to success.
Right.
Because you can teach them to you can teach someone how to say the ABCs, but not show them how to write and put it into a word. There's just no point,
Right, right.
The next thing that you said was I remember that one time where I was actually used to struggle a lot with reading, and I remember saying, man, Miss Kydd, I'm not getting it, or it was I don't remember what the program was on the computer itself, but it was pretty much like you challenge us to read, um
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
picking
I
up your
remember where it
speed.
blurs it and it moved the line moves.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. And for me, I was struggling with it. He said, okay, Jamo, tell you what. And he said, no, Jamo, you get it. And you just keep going at it. And I realized that, me not believing, like, man, this is challenging. But for you to say, like, Jamo, look, like, you're doing it. The fact that it's not so much about it's challenging. You give yourself, you know what it was, Miss Kydd? You taught me how to be patient with myself.
grace.
That's
Gotta have
what it
grace.
was. Because in a sense where we see the finish line, we want to sprint there, but no, you gotta work your way to there. It's a slow and steady progress. And that was one thing that you said to me that kept me going, and even to this day, I actually really feel good the fact that from that day till now, I still actually read. I take the time out to read, and it's something that I read every month. I have a book right now that I'm actually reading. I have lines of books that I'm sitting down to read, and I realized that my relationship with reading haven't been the best. I never really liked it. I struggled with it. I was actually afraid to read, as a matter of fact. Where that fear came from, I actually had to dive back and look into myself and understand where did this dislike of reading came from. And then
Hmm.
you got me to like reading again. It's something that I did struggle with at the beginning, but now I actually more proficient. I take more time and be able to be more rounded, And I think my main thing when it came on to reading was the pronouncing of words that I did not know, and also being able to like, okay, it's okay to not know the word. The fact that you don't know it is an opportunity for you to know it. So
Right.
that's what I took, and it stick with me to this day. And
Mhm.
one added thing that I remember, Miss Kydd, I remember it was my birthday, Miss Kydd. You guys threw a whole birthday party for me, and best believe I still have those pictures to this day. I still have the videos to this day. I still do, Miss Kydd. That was special, because I remember even at that time too. I don't have my parents here in the country with me, and that was in a sense where like it was warming because I don't have my parents here. My mom and dad in a whole other country. I was here with other relatives and friends and stuff like that. But for you as a mother figure towards me, that was like, man, like Ms Kydd, and other students like joined in, and other people bought me clothes, and people bought me chicken and Popeyes and Publix chicken, and we had cake and ice cream, and the whole class celebrated my birthday with me. That Ms Kydd, I'm telling you, like personally, me, you made an impact. I know that I'm not the only person who can speak like this, that's speaking from fact and speaking from the heart, and that's something that I know for a fact that you have done, and I can speak of, and forever etched in memory, and forever a time capsule in my heart that I can also share with other students and those who are watching this too, um, to know that it's more than just education. It's foundation, it's liberation, and also direction in life in which you can carry on throughout your journey. Everyone on this journey of life, I'm glad that you are part of a page in my book of this journey called life.
Yeah, wow.
Mhm.
And you shared a photo with me, a photo, and I still
Yes,
to
yes,
this
yes, yes,
day,
yes,
I was like
yes,
I
yes,
think it was like
yes.
either a sunrise or a sunset, but the sky was this beautiful orange, and you
Mm-hmm.
gave that to me,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
to this day, I still
Yes,
have it,
ma'am. Yes,
on the
ma'am.
wall. But we're saying this, but Jamo, you talking about the past, but Jamo, you got to remind me, it's been a long time. How long has
Yes.
it been since you've been a student of mine? It's been some years. Like, it's been a lot of years. How many years?
2019, 2019.
Oh gosh, 2019. And it feels like that's what, 2026. We're like looking at 7 or so years ago.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
and you're recalling these things like it
Yes,
happened
ma'am.
yesterday,
Yesterday. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
I'm like, and some of this
Indeed.
stuff you're saying, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that happened. I said,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, that's
Mm-hmm.
really amazing, and it lets me know that it really did
Mm-hmm.
stick with you. And
Mm-hmm.
despite that time lapse, it's kind of like I just had you yesterday.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
my Jamo. You're my
Yes, ma'am.
Jamo. The smile, the
Yes,
voice,
ma'am. Yes,
the
ma'am.
energy is the same.
Yes, ma'am.
But tell me,
Mm-hmm.
when this got tough, because you just mentioned you didn't have your parents here.
Yes, ma'am.
When things got tough, what
Mm-hmm.
was it, Jamo? Because I remember, you were like, I'm coming no matter what. I don't care what the weather is.
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes,
coming.
yes,
I'm
yes.
not
Yes,
missing
yes,
school.
yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
what was that thing or that motivation that you drew from to keep you going? Because when you don't have your parents, that's tough. You
Yes,
don't
yes, yes,
have
yes,
your
yes.
like your close tribe.
Yes, ma'am.
What kept you going, Jamo?
Well, I would say two things. Where I'm the kind of person where, like, if I have the mindset that if I start something, I want to finish it. That was always my mindset. If I start something, I always want to finish it. I've been that way. I always am this way to this day. And the next thing too, honestly, Miss Kid, coming to school was something that, like, I knew that on the days when I don't feel like it, when I walk into the classroom, everyone's like, "Hey, Chavo," like I walk into class, the whole class light up, and I don't know what that is. I guess it's a personality thing. I guess it's more like people always had a gravitate towards me. I think it's more of how I am as an individual. I
Yeah,
mean,
come on. You oozing right now, Jumbo. You like you
yes,
just jump. I
ma'am.
mean, I can't think of no other word but
Yes, ma'am.
Jumbo. I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
something about the sound of your name just
Yes,
sounds
ma'am.
powerful. It sounds
Yes, ma'am.
mighty. And it's like you like sunshine. And when you
Yes,
walk
ma'am.
in, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, everybody like, hey, it's like
Job away the
now the
class,
party can start.
Indeed,
Now the
indeed,
party can
indeed,
start because
indeed,
Jamo's in the house, so you
indeed,
kind of had
indeed.
that
Mm-hmm.
energy, and that's powerful. And I really want to compliment you, Jamo, because I know that it wasn't easy. I could
Most
tell, the
definitely.
fact that everybody loved on you like that, that you
Mm-hmm.
drew that without even saying, hey, I want this or I need that. We just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to just like give back that joy that you always giving off, even
Yes,
when it
ma'am.
was looking tough.
Yes, ma'am.
We knew you had that thing so deep in you that
Yes,
people just,
ma'am.
it's like a moth to a flame, right? You a
Yes, ma'am.
flame, and everybody, you just draw this thing.
Yes,
And
ma'am. Yes,
so
ma'am.
that, whether you realize it or not, I am
Mm-hmm.
certain that inspired people around you,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
if Jamo can go through this and Jamo can go through
Mm-hmm.
that and still be lighting up the room, then what
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about, what am I complaining about? So
Indeed.
you don't realize, but your positive mindset, behavior, speech, and attitude,
Yes, ma'am.
it encourages your colleagues. And this is the reason why I think it's so important for adults, if you're really going to try your best to make it through, you need a community some kind of
Indeed.
way. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you won't have that. Sometimes the people who you're closest with won't be your biggest cheerleaders because for whatever reason, maybe they don't want to, or maybe they can't. Maybe they're not in the same place that you are,
Yes,
but you
ma'am.
have to pull from yourself to be
Indeed.
such a light that you can
Mm-hmm.
gravitate towards a new community. So I think that that is
Indeed.
absolutely like tremendous, and I thank you
Mm-hmm.
for being such a big positive light because
Yes,
there are
ma'am.
some people who are on the journey but they so negative. They're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, and they don't realize that
Yeah.
actually discouraging others who are struggling in the trenches too. But if
Mm-hmm.
you can just say, hey man, look, we struggling, you struggling, I'm struggling too, but we
Yeah.
in this together. And if you
Embrace
keep
it.
climbing,
Indeed.
yeah, if you keep
Indeed.
climbing, I'll keep climbing. All right, just hang in
Indeed.
there. So that's just amazing that you have
Mm-hmm.
that kind of aura about you. And that's why I was so
Indeed.
happy to invite
Indeed.
you to be,
I
a
thank you
guest
for
because
having
I'm like,
me.
I gotta get Jamo, like, and
Most
you reached
definitely.
out.
Most
And
definitely.
and so with that, I asked you about how long it's been. You said 2019,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
now we're going back and you reached out. Talk to me about why you reached out to me. What made you say, I gotta contact Ms Kydd because it was
Ms
totally out
Kydd.
of the blue. You DM'd me
I
and I'm like,
know.
what's going on,
I
Jamo?
know.
Hey,
I
what's up
know.
with that?
To be honest with you, it was God divine. That's all I got to say. It was divine. No, but seriously, it was you know what it was? I was actually looking back I'm actually in the process of enrolling in school.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was doing that, I was in the process of now like, man, I was sitting down and just randomly have a conversation with my wife and I said, hey babe, those who don't have a GED, are they able to go to college? I'm just actually just curious, like for those who want to do that, like for those who never finished high school or those who never like went to school, they can't go to like another education without that, can they? And that just led to me start to sit and think. And I'm like, huh. Like then being Miss Kid popped in my mind. I'm like, Miss Kid. I'm like, hold on, wait. I know, no, I don't have Miss Kid number, but I'm like, no, I have Miss Kid on Facebook. So I'm like, okay, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me message Miss Kid. Hey, Miss Kid, how you doing, Miss Kid? I'm like, oh, let's trade numbers. I would just love to hear from you. Want to check in with you. I just want to say hi, And then it was like, whoa, But then again, I started to say to myself, like, huh. For those who actually desire to go to the next level of, say, they want to go to college for something, or they want to take on some sort of a career or a trade or skill or whatever it is, even join the military. You have to have this stuff. But
Right.
that's probably a little bit different. I don't know though, but one thing I know for sure is that it is some sort of you have to have some sort of education, some sort of learning, some sort of practice, some sort of repetition, some sort of attendance. Like you went to this institution for X amount of time for you to be qualified to show like you're a time management person, you know how to follow directions, and you're able to complete something, you know. Um, and then from there, I just reached out to you. Was just curious and just asking questions and wanting to know. And then I just reached out to you. I would say it was through the process of me doing something that led for me to do this.
So to
Yes,
answer your
ma'am.
question, so what you're talking about, college, university, whether trade school, military, these are all what we call post-secondary level opportunities. So
Yes, ma'am.
secondary is like high school getting your diploma. So you can't do the post, meaning coming after the secondary if you don't do the secondary because you got to show
Correct.
that you're prepared to handle the next level. So
Correct.
that's spot on.
Correct.
On my social media, we talk about that, the doors that it opens, and that's a door that it opens. College,
Mm-hmm.
certifications. You don't have to go to a 4-year university. If
Indeed.
you
Indeed.
choose to, that door is open. It's open whenever
Mm-hmm.
you're ready to walk through it. If you want to go to a trade, it's open whenever you want to. If you want to go to the
Mm-hmm.
military, it's now open for you when you're ready to go through it. So even if you get the diploma now, even if 10 years from now you
You can
decide to
still
go
go.
back. So tell us about that,
Mm-hmm.
Jumbo, because that's what prompted all of this. You
Mm-hmm.
decided to go back. So what are you going back for? And what made
Um,
you feel like now is the time for me to go back to school?
Well, surprisingly, you remember how I mentioned earlier that okay, I wanted to go to Broward College, and surprisingly, I didn't even go to Broward College. I actually got into CDL driving, over the road driving, and then I did that for a couple of years now, and I'm in the process of wanting to learn another trade, and currently I'm signed up to do welding. I'm gonna do welding at I'm living now in Tennessee, and I'll be going to Chattanooga State College. So that actually, you can see it even transition from, even though I was in Florida, it can be used in a whole nother state. So you're not
Mhm.
limited to just a state that you're in, a college here, a college there, but most of these school institutions would want to work with you as an individual to say, okay, it's something that never goes. That's the best things about, they needed my transcript. I was able to go on GED, got it mailed over to them and got it done. And now I start May 11th. So it's
Wow. That's
it's
right around the
quite
corner.
indeed in what today is the 12th. So in the next
So in a month, in
in a
about a
month,
month,
pretty
you'll be
much.
there,
Yes, ma'am.
and you ready? You ready to go back to
Yes,
school
ma'am. Yes,
again?
ma'am. Again,
Yeah.
the difference is though it's more like trades, like trades and skills, like welding. It's something I actually it's a whole another like different when it comes with the trade. It's actually messing with lava. It's like being able to arch a flame and to work on stuff. It's quite interesting. It's really interesting. It's interesting. Quite
So
interesting.
you transition, you went from you got your diploma and then you
Mm-hmm.
got your CDL, you've been on the
Mm-hmm.
road. And I recall looking at your social media, it seemed like you really enjoyed it. I saw a video you did where you were doing exercises
Yeah.
to be healthy while you
Yes,
on the
yes, yes,
road,
yes,
how
yes.
active. So, keep your health
Indeed.
at the forefront and
Mm-hmm.
all that. So it's really cool. And now you're gonna transition into welding, even though it's been several years since you
Almost
got your
definitely.
diploma. And
Most
that's amazing.
definitely.
That's a great point you made. You don't have to just, the credential goes where you go. Because
Indeed.
once you're a
Indeed.
graduate, you're
Indeed.
always a graduate. You're a graduate in Florida. You're a graduate in Tennessee. You're a
Yes,
graduate in
ma'am.
California. You're a
Yes,
graduate in New
ma'am.
York. You're a
Uh-huh.
graduate wherever you go. I don't care if you go back to Jamaica. You're
Indeed.
still a
Indeed.
graduate of the
Graduate.
United
Mm-hmm.
States. That's something that's in your capsule too. And
Yes,
that's like
ma'am.
awesome. You're worldwide graduate. And when you get
Indeed.
that next level credential, you'll be at that next level graduate,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's going
Yes,
to be with
ma'am.
you for the rest of your life. And that's so
Indeed.
powerful. And that's
Indeed.
awesome. And I'm so proud of you. But,
Thank you.
being Jamo, once again, you don't hold
Mm-hmm.
back. When you have a
No.
question, you
Mm-hmm.
reach out. And you made a great point. There's a lot of people who don't say anything and they struggle in
Yeah.
silence.
Mm-hmm.
They go through things in silence and they just give up without letting someone know, hey man, I'm having a hard time, I need help, and giving the opportunity to kind of remotivate, refresh, and this is where community once again becomes
Mm-hmm.
powerful. And why I started that WhatsApp group, because I don't want y'all doing this alone.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
gonna get tough. You're gonna
Yes,
get tough.
ma'am.
So
Yes,
with
ma'am.
that in mind, Jamo, what subject gave you the hardest time getting that GD? What subject was your hardest, do you think? What do you remember struggling with the most? And I know it's been some years, but take your mind back. Which seemed to give you the
Um,
biggest struggles and challenges?
I believe everyone could attest to this. It would be math.
It was
Math. The thing about it with math, what I'm even come to even learn, and even to this day, math is something you cannot study. Math is something that you practice, and math is something that you can't just do one time and then expect to pick it up a year later. You're not going to be as sharp. So math, even to this day, as I'm talking to you, I have the book right here. I practice like every couple of days. I make sure that I practice, keep my multiples down, keep my multiplications down, making sure I know my formulas, half base times height, all the different formulas, and just the area, parameter, all these different math things. That's math is something that universal, and you can never stop learning. And math is something that literally, if you don't use it, you lose it. So
That's
it's
true.
important. It's important to practice. And I had to end up learning the hard way, in a sense where to do the entry tests, Ms Kydd, I tell you this. I believe, well, sort of, I had to do a placement test to get into the everything with the college and everything, right? So doing the placement test, I think that if I never had went to GED, or like have some sort of a where I store these things in long-term memory, while I'm doing the test, all of these things are coming back to me while I'm there practicing. Like, whoa, I remember this, I remember that. And then it's right then and there, I said to myself, you know what? I got to make sure I keep practicing. Since then, I said to myself, you know what? It's been a while, but it's a good thing that when I was doing the GED, I took it real serious. I really wanted it. So I didn't just, okay, I'm gonna do it just to pass the test. No, I actually store it to long-term memory, that even though many years later, while faced with an equation like, oh, this seems familiar. I remember this. Oh, I remember that. And you start to come to you, but then and there's like I remember like, whoa, it's not as sharp as it was that time. But I say, you know what? I'm gonna keep practicing. And I have a book here and I just keep practicing. That's something that I said I'm gonna do, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, everybody have time. You just gotta you put time in what's important to you. That's what I
Yes,
believe.
that
That's
is
what I
true.
believe. Hmm.
That is true. So
Yes,
look
ma'am.
at your life now, Jamo. You got
Yes,
a
ma'am.
CDL, you're stable financially, you're
Hmm.
married, thinking
Yes,
about
ma'am.
starting a family.
Yes, ma'am.
How much of that, all that you have now came from obtaining your GED? Did getting your GED boost your confidence or change your
Most definitely.
mindset in any way?
Most definitely. It made me realize that, take my honest with you, Ms. Kydd, I don't think a lot of people have a level of resilience to continue. Because, when I actually felt good doing through everything was graduation day. I believe graduation day, Ms. Kydd. I remember you even crying too. You saw us children, young adults, middle-aged children. It's like you saw your own child graduating from school. Like, oh, that's my baby. And it's like, wow, it's like, I remember that day like yesterday. I remember you was like, oh, y'all got my makeup all messed up and this and that.
Well, I
I
don't wear
remember,
makeup anymore.
I
I learned my
remember.
lesson. I
And I'm
boo-hoo
like,
ugly
well,
cried.
I
Yes,
remember. And,
yeah.
things like those was just really monumental. The fact that I'm like, man, I remember them days I woke up out of bed and I did not want to go to school. I remember when it was raining outside. Oh, it's raining. I don't feel like going today. Oh, I missed the bus. Oh, but Miss Kid, is something that's life changing, and that's when I realized that it was all worth it. And Miss Kid, for me, school was something I believe I just wasn't good at, and I kept telling myself that. But until I was able to like go to school, go through the process, and being able to achieve that made me realize that that is possible. But in the way how I did it too, I truly believe that I have a level of grit that other students didn't have. Because for me, that whole time, believe it or not, well, of course you believe it. You remember I used to ride a skateboard to school. You remember?
Yes.
I remember that I used to take one bus, go to school, literally hopped off the bus, skateboard to school, skateboard from the school to the bus, take that to go home. And I was the only person at school at that time that rode a skateboard. I remember how it was so popular where if someone, I remember I mistakenly left my board in your classroom. And it was like, wait, that's Jamo's skateboard. I remember somebody came over and gave it to me. It was a penny board, I believe. It was a penny board, like a small, short plastic board. It was nice. And things like those, some students wouldn't do. I remember I used to have a bike. I used to bike to school, Miss Kid, and I remember doing this and through rainy days and everything like that. And like for me, it was just the desire of achieving, the desire of being consistent, the desire of completing what I started was more of what I saw. It's like I didn't see anything but the finish line. Like anything in between was just a part of it. I didn't let it. Man, you know what? I'm not gonna do this no more. Man, this is hard. That didn't sidetrack me. I'm like this. I'm like this the whole time. Just
Tunnel vision.
like, exactly.
Tunnel vision.
So it was quite interesting to start something and finish it. That I believe that mattered more to me, and I believe a lot of people don't go as far as they desire to because of that lack of, I would say, lack of discipline too. Because, a lot of people don't complete what they finish. And then it's like they look back later like, man, now I got to go back. Man, if I had finished this 3 years ago, if I finished this 7 years ago, and it's like, you were right there. How you know now is not going to be the easiest time for you to accomplish it? You don't know what 5 years going to look like. You don't know what 7 years going to look like. Why not just finish the course? Don't get me wrong. There are some things that are life changing. That's different, life changing. But being able to complete something what someone has finished is important, And I think a lot of it happens too with a lack of counseling, a lack of student direction, because I know that that there are many students to this day who go to college, sign up for a class, do the first 2, 3 weeks of it, and then end up dropping the class. And then they end up re-signing again. And then there's no level of completing what you're starting mindset where that would Miss Kid. And on top of that too, many people go to school for something, end up not having a steady plan in place where, okay, I'm going to school for this. At the completion of this, would this suffice for me to be able to can deal with these student loans? Or if you on a grant, where you're able to put yourself in a position to know, okay, I'm not just going to do this and then it's hard for you to accomplish what you went to school for, you know? And there's a lot of times too, it can be bad planning, lack of student counseling, and also a steady mindset to know, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this because of that, because I know the outcome and the projection of this thing that I'm doing would lead to that, you know? And that is where I truly believe that. That is why I tell you, Ms Kydd, that as a teacher, you're more than just a teacher itself. You talk about beyond the classroom. Because I know you don't expect all of us to come in your classroom and to stay the same, but you expect us to come, get what we need to get. But outside of this, how am I going to be able to help you? Like I told you, you helped me write a resume. Ms Kydd, I never had a resume. I didn't even know what that was. And you're able to teach me these things. You sat down with me, line for line, asked me these questions, and you were able to assist me in a way that no one else have ever done for me. So it's just a blessing. And also, too, like being able to complete what someone starts, it comes to the level of accomplishment, a level of feeling that, man, I really did it. And especially in them days when it's hard, you're not thinking about it, you're thinking about the finish line. And it's just a blessing. And it's something that I don't regret doing, you know?
Jamo, this thing we're talking about some serious stuff here. We're talking about
Indeed,
life-changing
indeed,
things, and you're
indeed.
saying a lot of great, you're actually answering questions that I didn't get to ask, but it's so
It's okay.
beautiful.
Still
You're
ask.
touching on so many great points.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
one of the hardest things that I see when I'm trying to encourage and convince folks to, enroll in my GED course, and
Mhm.
let's get this done, and let me counsel you, get in the WhatsApp group, all of that kind of stuff. Folks see, well, I don't want to pay to go to school. They figure, because I realize that there are other institutions that have cheaper options, but they end up taking so long. They end up being enrolled for years, and still not getting anything accomplished, still not passing, still not finishing. And then, like you
Right.
mentioned, like that revolving door, they're in one day, they're out there, they register today, and then a month later, they're not there anymore. And then they come back 6 months, a year later, and they try again, and they're there for 2 months, and then they leave. So Jamo, like, if you had to encourage a person who is constantly saying, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the support, I don't have the whatever that it is that they're saying they don't have to go back to school. What would you say to that individual about, like, just go and just do it anyway?
Let's look at reality. Everyone wake up every day with 24-hour clock. So there's always time. That's the first thing. It all depends on what someone may put their time into and what they deem as valuable to them as an individual. Where when it comes down to time, is something that it is not managed properly because of a lack of discipline. And a lot of times with that too, a lot of people don't prioritize their time or even since make time for what is important to them. And a lot of times too, where when it comes on to school, it is seen as like something that is necessary, but it's something that is vital and very crucial to one's well-being as an individual as they take on the journeys of school itself. But to convince someone to go to school is something that someone would have to see a need for. Because you can convince someone, they may see the need, but it's not going to change until they see the necessity of it, you know? Um, and in a sense, have their why as well, because in a sense, we say like, they're in a position where they want to do better. How are they going to change their today for their tomorrow? Are they going to make the change for today for their children's future? In a sense where, okay, what is your motivation? Okay, you're going to have children. Are you going to leave something where, hey, my mom went to school, they can look upon these things and be like, man, if I'm in school, you're setting the bar for your children, for your child. Not because you start somewhere doesn't mean you have to finish there. Some people go on to higher education to do more, to thrive more, but it really just comes down to what have you seen as well. Another part to that is the fact that many individuals probably never saw their mom or their dad complete high school, or probably never finished college, or probably never finished university, or in a sense, did anything. All they know is just, okay, this is how things was and this is how it's going to stay. They don't have an example of higher education, or in a sense where that break the cycle of settling for just, okay, mommy just went to high school or daddy just went to high school, but no one took on the acknowledgement of going to college. In that sense, so that's where I go back to saying how it has to be more than just you. It has to be a reason why. And most importantly, it really comes down to one's conviction. Because if you're not convicted of something, anything can sway you. What's the saying stand for?
If you don't stand for something, you fall for anything.
And that's the main thing. Many of us fall for anything. No, and that is why I even go back to saying in the beginning, a lot of us don't have the mindset where you're gonna complete what you start. Because if you started just because of a wimp and just of a fly, you don't have no reason to continue, keep going. So it's quite important to understand oneself in terms of understanding too how one actually learns. Some people are visual learners. Some people are hands-on learners. Some people it takes them overnight for it to click for them. So, like I said, Miss Kydd, it's a plethora of things. Life-changing things do happen, but it shouldn't change the goal and the mission and the goal. The mission and the goal. You shouldn't
Right,
change that. Because I
right,
can't
right,
tell
right.
someone that, oh, if you're going to school and you just lost your mom, that's not going to be difficult. That is life changing. You lost your dad in the process of this. This is going to be life changing. But then again, there is time to mourn. There is time to grieve. There is time to be sad. And there also too, I also would know that your parents would also like for you to thrive and for you to also to do well. So in doing so is very vital and very important to continue with the task at hand. You know, and it's very important to have a reason, have a why, have a when things get tough, what keeps you going, because it is tough. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was easy for me to go to school. I didn't have a car to go to school, but I didn't let that stop me. I took a bus, I rode a bicycle, I took a skateboard. But today I can look back and say, wow, I can't even tell you where the bicycle or the skateboard is to this day, but
Elevated.
I can tell you that this was a part of my journey, helped me to get to where I need
Right,
to get to. And
right.
and these things I can say that having that community, having that good influence, teachers, friends, people who are on the same wave as you. Sometimes you have to, while you're in that school process, what if you're hanging around some people who don't really take school as serious as you do? You need to change that up immediately.
Yeah.
And I have had experience of this. I had to do. There were some students I used to run with at school, and they used to leave. Hey, man, you want to go hang out there, or let's go there and break half time. I'm not saying I was always the best student with being consistent, but I realized in that instant, like, you know what, I need to change that. And the moment I changed it, surprisingly, I actually finished school before all of them, just by
Wow.
making that change. So it's
Wow. You
it's
you you
it's
had to
it's a
leave them
lot.
behind in more ways than one.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit off, a little bit from what you were saying, but that's just a little bit of it's a couple of things that need to change. It has to be a reason why. Write it down, and some of the times I would encourage anyone. Just go. You never know. And the one thing, Miss Kydd, I was looking at an instance, even when I was going to sign up for school, I'm like, I don't know, because now it's like when you get into that workflow, it's like, man, I'm probably going to find something part-time to work at my job for me to go to school and this, and that. These are some of the different challenges you can face. And you're like, man, do I really want to go to school now? Man, because you're not going to get paid to go to school. But after you finish school, it's going to, it may take a year, it may take 2 years. It's just one thing I tell myself, Miss Kydd, and to this day, I said, it's all going to work out. That's what I said to myself. It's all going to work out.
Yeah, I was
Indeed.
just gonna ask, if you could
Mhm.
to leave us with, a quote, what would be your ultimate quote that really you would give to someone who you saw struggling?
Well, I would say a quote and also a scripture that come to mind where it says, we cannot laud thy purpose see, but all is well as done by thee. And the scripture is Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6, which is trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not to your own understanding. And right then and there is like, that's where you go to understand, like, all right, I don't know how this going to play out, but Lord, I'm asking you to help me with this. I don't know how this going to turn out. I don't know what I'm doing. And this is where, like, even where I come to, this is where you meet a Miss Kydd, where you say, okay, what is it that you want to do? You're not just talking about the projection of when you're in the class, in the motion of doing it, but more like, okay, what's gonna be your goal after this? Okay, do you have a resume? Let's help you set up a resume. If you're gonna go to school, what are you gonna go to school for? And you don't only just give them the now, but you give them a 2 year, 3 year, 4 year projection where you're like, okay, this is the path, and at this point in time, at this beginning, at this is going to be your end to be able to complete. So yeah, it's important. But I would say that there's many things I can't say.
Yeah,
Complete,
because it's drama. You got a lot of things you went.
just have the grit to complete what you finish what you start.
Right.
And finishing what you started is just continuing, and being able to be, what, Miss Kid, you know what it is. If I was supposed to really give a quote, you know what I would say?
Mm.
Be patient with yourself. If I was supposed to pick one thing to say, plus the everything I saw, the scriptures and everything, but the one thing that I can say that I had to learn out of all of this, Miss Kid, was being patient with myself. Because with that, when it came on to learning the math, I had to be patient with myself. When it came on to reading my speed, getting it down, I had to be patient with myself. You have to trust the process. And a lot of times too, Miss Kid, we aren't patient with ourselves.
Right.
And I believe everyone can relate to that. You want to get there to the finish line, but you just gotta be patient with yourself. Trust the process. Be patient with yourself.
Well,
Man.
Jamo, once again, I'm so
Hmm.
pleased and proud. And like you say, I am feels like a big mama bear.
Oh,
And
most
I'm proud
definitely.
of my students being
Hmm.
so successful and growing the way that you did. And I see
And
where you come out on the other end of this thing and
yeah,
you're married and moving forward in your career.
yes, and
But
yes,
Jamo,
and
thank you so much for this opportunity to
it's a
interview you
pleasure. It's a
and hear
pleasure.
all this great Jamo wisdom.
Yes,
And,
ma'am.
I'm sure that you have truly encouraged many people
Hmm.
in your
Most
journey and your
definitely.
message. And I'm so grateful for having you on the show.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
guys, thank you, thank you, thank you for watching. I am Chandra Kidd of Smart Kid Concepts. I hope to see you all again on another GED Breaking Barriers. Jamo, thank
Yes.
you again for
It's a
joining us.
pleasure. It's a
Everybody,
pleasure.
thank you for watching. Say bye, Jamo.
Bye. It's a
Bye,
pleasure.
you
It's a
guys.
pleasure. It's a
It
pleasure.
was amazing.
Oh, most
Thank you.
definitely. Indeed. Blessings.